Yes, and we're live. That was fast.
That was, yeah, of course, because it's like we're unprepared. So the more unprepared we are, the faster StreamYard, the more efficiently StreamYard.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, really. So what a week, huh?
Yeah, it's we're almost there, Daphne.
Oh my goodness.
Just a few more days and we survived
just, I mean, I swear to God, what is it with Decembers, right?
I don't know, man.
Like everything traumatic happens in
December and through February. Like, I'm not even kidding. Yeah. Like, I have to see the other side. Like, I'm not in the clear till March 1st.
Oh, I see. Till your birthday.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, we're good.
Then I can, right. Then the universe aligns in my favor for until the next winter.
Oh my goodness. I mean, really, it's like, so other than everything, how are you doing?
I am here.
I guess we can,
oh yeah, we should tell these people good morning. Good morning, people. It's December 29th, 2025, and this is Ragin to the vlogs. We don't sound really raging today, though.
No, we're more traumatized than raging.
This episode brought to you by CPTSD.
Right.
You ready?
Absolutely not, but hit it.
Trigger warning, fuck you.
And fuck you.
That just seems to be the theme of the year. Oh my goodness. So who's up this morning? Because I know, like, after the first holiday, everyone's like, oh,
hello, Lou and Joseph. Good morning.
Hello. And yes, I see you, our little boogered-eyed people. Eyeball people waking up in the regions beyond. If you're watching us on YouTube, please come on over. Make sure you hit subscribe and join the sexy people in the chat. And while you're here, make sure you like, share, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever any of our shows go live. Oh my goodness. It's like, I ended up changing the topic of the show at the very last minute. I wanted to keep it kind of like, I don't know, more creative oriented and blah, blah, blah. But then it's like this morning, I was like going, nah.
No,
we gotta traditionally ring this out the way we always do in an anxiety-filled stupor.
Oh, of course, because there's no other way to do this.
Right, yeah, exactly. So I figured that we have a proper end of year show.
We're going out with bang.
Exactly. So hello everyone. My name is Daphne Lage, and I'm a cartoonist, illustrator, and comic book artist from New York. I have been self-publishing comics since 1992, and you know what that means?
I have anxiety. That means I'm in my shell and have a hard time expressing myself. I find it difficult to engage with others. So everyone shut the up because my anxiety is up here right now.
All the way up
all the way up to 11. Oh my goodness. I am the artist for the fantasy adventure Tall Tales. And the creator of Eagle Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn, and medieval fantasy drama you can read online at eagleworks.com. And because, of course, I had to forget something, which I am putting in the chat right now, the launch page for issue 12 is live on Kickstarter right now. I'm still currently working on issue 12, so I don't have an exact date as to when I'm launching. But if you hit that pre-launch button, you will be notified the second campaign goes live, so you can pick up that issue. Also, you can check out all my videos on how I make my comics here on YouTube at my channel at Daphne Lage, Lage art. Make sure, and like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and please, the algorithm gods, even though technically subscribers, they keep saying subscribers have nothing to do with anything, but you know what? We're not taking any chances. And here I am with my lovely co-host, Nita.
Hello. My name is Nita, and I have a YouTube channel. It's the Indie Comics Network because I have a Google account. There's pretty much it.
There you go. Yes, and hello, good morning to HR and Farstar Lover. Hello.
Welcome back.
Oh my goodness. So yes, it's a couple of days until the new year, and so what you've been up to lately? Let's do a little housekeeping before we kind of like get into the conversation.
I am finishing off this year with Ethereal. Got a couple campaigns that are live. Getting ready for next year. It's just work stuff and car accidents and stuff.
Right, yeah. No, really. It's like Christmas Eve. I was on Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
right?
So Christmas Eve we go out to my mom's because that's what we do to have Christmas Day to ourselves is we sacrifice ourselves to the family the night before.
Right.
And so we go out, we do the Christmas Eve thing, and the kids get their presents and shit. On the way home, we're driving home like you do, and then all of a sudden I'm being thrown and I don't know what the hell is going on. We were rear-ended traveling in the same direction, and the kid hit us so hard that he bent the steel hitch cap up into a 90-degree angle almost.
Right. And you have one of these like giant camper vans, right?
This is a large multi-passenger steel frame GMC freaking tank that I'm driving. It jarred the shit out of us, totaled his car. Like, just like there was no, like, I don't know, like as soon as I realized what had happened, I turned around to make sure the kids were okay. They were screaming and freaking out because I mean, it's like I said, it came from nowhere. You don't expect to be rear-ended when you're driving.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And like I jump out, I open the back doors, I fly in, I do the head count, I make sure nobody's got blood coming out of them. Right. And then I'll turn around and I look at the kid's car. Right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I am like crippled. My knees are like, oh my God, there's no way this kid is okay. Right. And then right as I started to take that first step towards, he opened his door and stood up. And I was just like, I could have fell to my knees in that moment. Cause I just like, if you just seen the car, you thought no way.
It's like physics in action, right? It's like the car did what it was supposed to do.
If we'd have been in our small blue van, my kids would probably be dead.
Right.
If he would have hit a smaller vehicle, he would be dead.
Right.
Like it was just like, and the way he hit us actually helped too, because we had that big old camper hitch on there. It lifted his front end into the back doors instead of pushing him under the car.
Wow.
So it was just wild, dude. It was wild.
Right. That's crazy. You know, it's like all of a sudden visiting the family ain't so bad, huh?
Actually, the accident was the least stressful part of the day.
Right. Yeah. Well, right.
Actually, no, we actually had a really good visit this year. It was surprisingly peaceful. You know, like we did our thing.
Good. That's good.
Headed home.
And then
and it was all the kids' first car accident. So
so at least they get it all done.
It was not a fender bender, so it was like we got that trauma out the way.
Right? Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. I mean, but still, I mean, really, it's like, you know, that's what a way to, you know, I mean, it's like, because you said that the kid's parents were like screaming.
Oh, I felt so bad for him. The first thing out of his mom's mouth is, you could have killed an entire family on Christmas. It was like,
right.
Oh my gosh. And then Chris said his dad was on him pretty hard too. Like, I mean, so he kind of felt bad for the kids since we were okay.
Sure, but it's like, it's like, kid thinking he's Vin Diesel, probably bragging on his phone,
brand new, pretty little orange sports car.
Now it's just like a piece of aluminum foil in a recycling bin.
Right.
But I mean, really, it's like, but I mean, it's a relief to hear that everyone's okay. Although you said that Rowan had a bit of a black eye. So.
Yeah, Rowan had her cell phone and it jarred and like came up and hit her in the face.
Wow.
Either hit the back seat or went forward somehow.
Right.
It clipped her cheek. And so like that. And then like we were jarred. I mean, everybody was a little sore next day.
Yeah.
And
was she the type to like show off the bruise?
Of course.
I survived a car accident,
Yeah,
Look at my black eye. Yeah, because I've seen her act up on camera when we're when we're by ourselves, and it's like I can kind of imagine her doing that. Look at my black eye.
It was just nuts, dude. It was just nuts. It was nuts.
I mean, really, it's glad everybody is okay. That's for sure.
Yeah, we were all very lucky.
Yeah, no, very, very. I mean, granted, I didn't have that dramatic of an ending to December, but hey,
there's 2 days left. Hang in there, babes.
Oh my goodness. No, I think we'll be okay. We'll be okay. As long as we don't leave the house, right? Oh my goodness. So okay, so
good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Michael. So it's like essentially, would you say that this might have been the worst thing to happen this year?
Dude, I am not so bold. As far as 2025 is concerned, the year's still young. Have you not been here?
Oh yeah, I know. Really,
this shit's not over until it's.
We don't want to push our luck, right?
I'm not jinxing nothing.
Right. Okay. All right. So, well, that's true. Okay. So maybe we should kind of because originally I had wanted to do because it's like I've been trying to make a habit of like really organize the shows. And come up with topics ahead of time.
And I am bucking the system so hard.
No, because it's like I know it's because while I was in Florida, right? It's like I did a little cleanup of the YouTube channel, and I noticed that by changing the titles, I got a bump up on subscribers. And because I guess like people are willing to watch a video if they know what the video is about.
Oh yeah, my random shit doesn't work.
Yeah, so like what I was doing is I was kind of like watching watching the videos, getting a Gemini summary, and then trying to make up my own summary. Kind of like I was like, okay, what's the video about, and then kind of like redo the titles.
It's about drugs, sex, and rock and roll.
Right. Yeah, I know, right? It's like unfortunately that would be all of our episodes, and that would cause some confusion. So I figured, let me, go make the titles and the descriptions more specific. And like I said, I ended up seeing like a jump in subscribers because of it. It could have been coincidence, could have been anything else. I don't know, but yeah, it happened. Yeah, I can't really say. That's kind of the problem with doing stuff for platforms is that you never really know what you're doing that works. And that's kind of like the overall frustration that I've had with doing stuff online is that there's nothing, you stress yourself out over stuff like that. And then you have no idea whether it actually made a difference or not. So like I said, it's like I was making, I made it a point since I had gotten back from Florida to kind of like prepare the shows in advance. And because of that, most of the time I stay on topic, but
you know what I like?
What?
I like not having to remember to build a Streamyard.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so it works
Dude,
out.
I got so lazy now. I don't even bother. I'm just check this morning.
You know what it is? We all have to work with our strengths. You know? So it's like, so if my need to have to build the shows, like to think about the shows in advance, makes
Go
it
for it.
easier for you
It's all
to
yours.
to concentrate on
Take
other
it.
things, then
Yes,
we're
like
good.
showing up. That's
Right.
my
Well,
goal.
yeah, that's true. That's all you have to do. All you have to worry about is showing up. So you know, look, I live to make people's lives easier whenever I can. So yeah, so the original topic was supposed to be more like creative leaning, like about like storytelling and all that. But after watching Jose's show last night, I go, nah, we gotta end this. We gotta end this show like everybody else does. We have to go through the list. We have to like kind of like reassess what happened this year, and
I'm not ready. I haven't even done this with my therapist yet.
Right. You know what we're not bringing into 2026, what energy we're leaving behind, and what we're taking with us. You know, I'm
bringing Zoloft.
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. That also seemed to be the theme of 2025.
It did.
You know, baby's first manic starter kit. You know, so so that's like, you know, some of the so that's why I ended up changing the name of the topic of the show, because like I said, I was inspired. I didn't know there was a test. No, really, it's like, it's always, you know, I swear it always feels like it's a test, honestly, that we don't get the study for. No, so yesterday, right? So last night, if everyone missed it, Jose did his show, which you can find in the playlist or you know, on his channel, and you know, and they were talking about like, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out in doing comics? Right. And of course the run, right? Of course the joke, the very tired joke obviously is don't do it, right? Which someone had done that on a previous show of Jose's, where that the topic came up again, what advice, you know, and someone had said, oh, don't do it, right? And at that moment I had found myself like, I know it's a joke logically, but I was like really irritated because one, it's a really tired joke. You know, and it's like, and two, it's like, you know what, it kind of got to a point. Yeah, exactly. We all failed. You get an F, you know, and you know, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, because this year, if there was an overall thought process that I had for this year, is having no patience for people who are doing this without taking the creative side of it seriously. Like, if you're just coming in thinking that you're going to do comics, make money on Kickstarter, and then, you know, and whatever, and that's like your only goal, is to kind of like, oh, this is, you know, I'm going to make money on Kickstarter, you know, doing comics. I just found like I had zero patience for people who were like this year. You know, it's like I just had like absolutely zero patience. You know, it's like, look, in the end, what you do is your business type of thing. Like, you know, it's like, you know, but like, if you open your mouth and the only thing that's coming out is, you know, is market share, you know, that it's like, it's funnels, you know, it's, you know, activations. It's like,
I got you.
You know, it's, I don't, I just like shut off at that point. It's like, you know what? It's like, yeah, there's the trophy. You see, I think that's also representative of what I also learned at this year. You know, it's like how, like, kind of like fighting the two sides, to be the side that cares too much and the side that's like zero fucks given.
Yo.
You know, like, that was kind of like, I have two wolves inside of me type of thing.
Why won't you go?
And And like I said, the main thing was not having any more patience for people who just see this as just kind of like a marketing scheme rather than an extension of the art they need to make. And
who is doing that?
And it's like, well, don't you know everybody's gunning for a Netflix deal, Nita? This was the year of the imaginary Netflix deal.
It's either the year of the Netflix deal or the year that I'm the next image or the
right.
Yeah. It's like, the same.
Right.
Same old,
except
same
this
old.
year I had like even less patience for it. And it's like and I've been listening to a lot of more, like I've been really curating the whatever I try to like consume on the internet. And I've been listening to a lot of like philosophical like art videos. So it's like a couple of years ago I had really gotten into like just philosophy in general, and this year I found it's philosophy / art, like art philosophy essentially. And I think it kind of started with listening to Rick Rubin, and then like kind of like, even though technically people say that's like Rick Rubin is not really the best person to listen to, because this is a motherfucker who made billions off of representing some of the greatest musical artists of all time, and he's telling you to like follow your heart. It's like, yeah, I get it. But it's like, I think that the issue that it really points out, because there's this other guy, I forgot his name, where he was a graffiti artist who he became a millionaire by doing a mural and getting paid in Facebook shares.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was either Facebook or Google shares. I don't remember which one. And then it's like when they went public, he became a millionaire overnight. And the thing is like, and I think that, they kind of represent actually what a lot of artists want to become, that we want to like have like, yeah, it's like these are rich guys who are telling you to follow your heart, but like that's kind of like the weird privileged position you kind of have to be in to do that, because it is hard to follow your heart when when you're stressing over whether your rent's getting paid.
Right.
So it's like, and I'm not saying you have to be a millionaire to be that, but the thing is though, is that art is still art regardless. And and it's like, and I guess I realized this year that I'm in a privileged position to say, to kind of like be irritated at people who are only in this for the money. I'm kind of like the low end equivalent of Rick Rubin, where it's like, yeah, follow it. This is all about art, but it's like, yeah, bitch, you don't have to pay rent. So of course you could say it's all about art. But that doesn't mean that my irritation at people who are only in this for the money, isn't valid. And so that's kind of like the mindset that I've just kind of like been fighting with this year. It's like, especially since at the beginning of the year I had pretty much come to the conclusion that marketing is bullshit. That we've spent like 4 or 5 years like really like trying to study this, and algorithms and funnels and the whole thing, only to really come to the conclusion that the only thing stopping me and a lot of other creators from really making it, whatever that means, is money. And it's like, and if you don't have the money already to bankroll what you're trying to accomplish, all the marketing advice that you get is not going to help you. It's like, so I just like came to a conclusion this year that, like, even though I do find marketing interesting, and the way things have to be presented to an audience to kind of get their attention, at the same time, I also had to come to the realization that without the bankroll for that to really make meaningful changes, it's really not going to go anywhere. And whatever I was able to accomplish on my own at this point, the audience that I've built and, that I've gotten, it's like, that's kind of like pretty much where I'm going to be, especially after doing like 11 issues, and that's just Eager Raven, and like in doing like all the issues of Tall Tales and everything. And it's like there's nothing, I don't think there's anything that I can do that'll change any of those numbers between issue 11 and issue 12 or issue 11 to issue 16. It's like, so if marketing is nonsense in the end, then the only thing that I can really focus on is art. Especially since, I'm not making anything that you can say is to market, that I'm not making something that's specifically for, whatever market, like pretty much if it boils down to, if you're not doing titty books and if you're not working on legacy IPs, good luck making your $2,500 on Kickstarter. I mean, that's pretty much the extent of it. It's like, there's very specific markets that are thriving, very specific people that are thriving. And, and if you're not doing, if you've made the decision to not do what they're doing, your expectations has to be very, very tapered. And, which kind of leads into the show that Jose's show yesterday. But I mean, like what was kind of like, what were you seeing on your end this year in terms?
It was just another year. Daphne, I'm not in the headspace right now. I'm sorry. I'm trying to work on something over here.
Okay.
I got totally distracted.
Right. Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. Because sometimes I get self-conscious that maybe I'm talking too much.
No.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on with him and like talking, like figuring out what's going on with the insurance, the doctor's appointments, and a whole bunch of stuff.
That whole thing. Yeah. Real life stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's like, and that's also a funny thing too, right? So yesterday, like I said, there was this talk about like what lesson, knowing what you do now, what would you tell somebody starting off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is that the whole conversation went into a direction that I wasn't expecting, that pretty much everyone on the show was talking about, like, look, if you're not going to have a traditional job, you have to take care of everything that a traditional job would take care of, like health insurance, like regular insurance, like, like your Social Security, your 401k or whatever, when you have a job, these are kind of the things that you kind of have that you don't have as a self-employed creator. And, and the funny thing is, it's like, I was thinking more like creatively, but that was a very important conversation to have, because a lot of people kind of like forget that part. They get so wrapped up in the making of the comics that they forget about the other life stuff that they have to take care of it at the same time. And I think like another phrase that I kind of got tired of this year is, life got in the way.
Life doesn't stop. What do you mean it got in the way? This is life.
Right, exactly, right? And I think like one of the lessons from that conversation yesterday is that if you didn't know how to handle stressors before you decided to go full time with your artwork, with your whatever it is you're doing creatively. If you had a problem dealing with stressors before that, you're going to continue having those problems afterwards. They don't just magically disappear because now you're working full time from home.
Right.
And that was like, and that's kind of a thing. Like if you had no way of dealing with that stuff, like it like everything just became chaos once something was tipped out of whack. That's going to continue to happen when you're trying to do your book. And and it's like they were talking, and the problem is that because this was kind of like a big opportunity to go full time, there was a lot of high expectations. And the problem is that it's like, look, this is something that we all do, where it's like, we prepare ourselves for the new year, we prepare our schedules, and for some reason we always start off at creating a schedule that is based on an imaginary version of ourselves that works perfectly every time. And honestly, I think that is like the best way to set yourself up for failure than anything. Like, it's one thing to have goals, right? But at the same time, if you have like goals that depend on everything working perfectly, you're what's going to happen when after 3 days everything tips sideways? Because that's just how life is. It's like something is going to come up that's going to break that perfection you had in your head as to what this schedule is supposed to be. And I, and it's like, and I was like, really was like concerned about like kind of like that idea that was floating around yesterday. That's like, oh, it's like, I'm going to do a comic a month and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other thing. And like, even like the other people on the show was like, maybe, hold off on doing a comic a month. Rob says, this is why I still have a full time. I have a family to take care of first and comics second. And yeah, I can deal with stress like a champ.
Don't we all?
Yeah, but in the end, it's like you kind of have no choice. Like when you're juggling,
you take the Zoloft and just keep swimming.
Right, exactly. It's like it's like you have those two things anyway, so you have to make it work. But at the same time, it's like you have to make it work realistically. And that was one thing that I really learned this year is how long it actually takes me to do a book. And it's a lot longer than I liked to pretend that I could take, because when I started publishing Eager Raven, I had 5 issues already done in advance. So it gave me a lot of buffer between when that first issue came out, and then when I finished that 5th issue, and then I started going into the brand new issues, which I had all laid out and everything. The story is done, but and then it's like I still had a lot of unpublished Tall Tale stuff that I was interspersing and and that I was putting in between all the books. So I was putting out a lot of books, but that was because I had that buffer, to be able to put out a lot of books, which made it look like that I was working a lot faster than I was. And then 2025 was the first year that I ran out of buffer. And it was kind of tough realizing like how I really do my comics compared to the illusion that I was or delusion that I was running on when I had a buffer kind of like covering up maybe, I don't know, like how slow I actually am, how disorganized I actually am,
And this was the year I found myself getting organized.
Well, I mean, organized in terms of what? Organized in terms of what?
No, it's like, no, I say that every year.
Right.
I'm going to organize my files. I'm going to separate everything. I'm going to name stuff something besides stuff 1, stuff 2.
Right.
Stuff
No,
3.
that never goes away. No, everything is stuff 1, stuff 2, final, stuff 2, final, final. But not for nothing though. No, it's like I'm in a situation where I have to make being at home work. I'm sure I'm borderline crazy now. Well, yeah, that's also the thing too. When you're working from home, it's completely different than when you actually have to do that forced socialization thing from going into work. And and it's like, and I kind of like, and that's also something that's kind of been bugging me as well, that it's like, it's like I felt like I was trapped, in my office. But it's like, so this year though, I still accomplished stuff though.
Well, sure.
It's like, even though it was a lot slower than I had wanted, I still accomplished stuff, and the stuff that I accomplished, just to kind of like give myself a pat on the back, and it's not as much a pat in the back, it's just a reminder that it's like I am actually accomplishing stuff, even if I'm not working as quickly as I would like, or I would like to imagine myself working as quickly. So this year I got to print Eager Raven issue 9, Eager Raven issue 10, and Eager Raven issue 11. So this year I was able to release 3 more issues of Eager Raven. Of course, I had wanted to get issue 12 out this year, but that's not happening. Things happen, but at least I got 3 more issues out this year. The thing is, with life happens, right? So like I said, I would have liked to have put out issue 12 this year, but what happened was that life got in the way. So I had a combination of an opportunity that came out, that an opportunity had come up early in the year that required me to kind of like shift my focus for 2 months. But unfortunately that thing fell through, and whatever, and that put me behind in terms of the work that I actually wanted to do. And then I had this whole thing with helping both my sister and my mother move within months of each other. Yeah. And we're still in the process of, we're kind of done with like phase 1 of with my mother's move. Now we just require some other things to happen, and then it's the whole thing about bringing her up to New York, getting her situated here, and the whole thing, right? But that's kind of nothing. I mean, that's easy to do. We kind of have that planned out already. The tough part was dealing with a moving company, which was a nightmarish experience. Moving companies are shady businesses at best.
Absolutely.
To say,
especially over great distances.
Yeah. So that was a very expensive mistake that we ended up making, but it's done. It's over with. The hard part's over. So in the meantime, but the thing is, I still had to function in the middle of all that. There was no, I'm just going to lie in bed and rot until all this passes over. No, it's like, if I still need the work to get done.
Right.
So that's why the whole thing about, life got in the way. It's like, no, life happens. You're the one that has to maneuver around it. Yep. So I don't have.
We must adapt.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you have to adapt. It's like, that's true Darwinism. It's not survival of the fittest. It's the survival of people who can adapt, of any creature that can adapt. And if you can't adapt, you're not going to make it. You're not going to, if you have this illusion of what you want to accomplish, you have to factor in adapting, or else it's like, after day 3, you're just going to show your belly and go, oh, it's like, oh, I can't do this. It's like you have to succeed because you have no choice kind of thing. What is it? It's like aggressive positivity or something like that. So the other thing that I did this year that I experimented a bit with, we had been talking about this for a couple of years, about the popularity of manga and how that eventually or ultimately affects how we do our books, right? And one of the things that I was experimenting with it is putting together going back to doing digest versions of my trade paperbacks. And these are the initial samples that I made. As you can see, like, this is a comic book size, and this is the digest size of the trade paperback. And and it's kind of funny to see like how so many people are finally like understanding manga's influence on the culture as a whole and how it's affecting how people buy books. So so this is something that that I'm still playing around with. So this is like, these are, what are these? Are these 6x9s or 5? No, I think these are 6x9s. And the reason why I chose this size as opposed to like a more traditional manga size is because one of the big things that I've been researching this year also is the whole, like monster smut, romantasy, traditional published, indie published novels. That was a very big theme for me this year. And it kind of like, and there's an overlap between these novels and manga and comics. And I'm trying to find that intersection of those three mediums. To kind of like find something that I could that I feel comfortable working with and can take to different venues without feeling too out of place. Like this is like, these would be the type of books that I would be able to take to something like, I don't know, like BookCon, or if the gods bless me in the future and let me get a table at Monsterotica or something, or if I go to an anime show or a comic book show, like this is the type of book format that would fit very well with any of those conventions, those different book scenes, I guess. So but this is still in the making, so that was so that was kind of like a very big theme of this year, especially since I think that the thing that I participated in this year that really changed my brain chemistry was going to Monsterotica in May. It was a terrifying and exhilarating experience. I didn't get to do what I wanted because I literally chickened out. I was just so like overwhelmed. And mind you, it's not like it was a big convention, but like I had never done anything like that before. And honestly, to be in a female dominated environment, and everyone sharing the same type of work that I was into without anybody like being weird about it.
Right.
Was actually just really cool, and it's like, not in a kind of like, oh, I found my people kind of thing, but it's like, this is fun. Right. It's kind of like that, it's like this is fun to be in this space where I don't feel like an outsider. It's like, it's like at comic book conventions, it's like I'm competing with hobbits and Superman. I mean, it's like that, two things that, actors and IPs, and it's like two things, legacy IPs, and it's like that's not, it's like and then it's like, like something like anime shows, I just feel so incredibly old and out of touch at an anime show. And the thing is, it's like, and unless you're doing like fan art of these very like, like I'm just so completely out of it that I just can't relate. And and I can only hope like I could try to target my stuff to anime heads, but it's kind of like I can't relate to what they like now and make decisions on marketing to that angle. So I feel like very, very out of touch. But with Monsterotica, it was very different. I felt like, oh, it'd be very easy for me to kind of get into that headspace, to get, to do, and it's like, and I know that I said that marketing is bullshit, but like I said, also like marketing is also like a puzzle that entertains me. So, so kind of like figuring out, how do I like market myself or just present myself in this space, because I feel very comfortable in that space, but also at the same time, I'm not technically part of that space because I'm not a book illustrator. I'm a comic book person. And even then, I'm doing comics that are not quite what they're doing. Like even the type of artwork that they're doing, that they prefer, is different. But at the same time, it's like I can still enjoy the space. So that was like a big thing that really, really changed how I thought this year. And and I'm looking forward to the next Monsterotica, which I was able to get a ticket for. And I'm kind of playing around with the idea. It's like, okay, I know what to expect now. Is it possible that I could be less chicken shit on the second try and hand out portfolios to these authors? So, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So that was like a big thing for me that really that really made me think differently this year. But going back to Jose's show, right? So it's like, so this whole thing about, you have to set up yourself according to what you can actually do, not what you can imagine yourself doing, not a fantasy version of yourself, which I thought was incredibly important. Because it's like, yeah, I could easily, oh yeah, let me put out a Kickstarter a month or something, which one is impossible unless you have multiple accounts or you're running campaigns for 2 weeks. But also I can't finish a book in a month. I can barely finish a book in 2 months. And this is me just inking and, and shading. It's like, I'm not even like the lettering and the base artwork is done. So I haven't like really sussed out what my problem is. It's like, why it just feels like it's taking me longer. It takes me so long to do a book. But but that's just the reality of it. And it's like, and I have to kind of like, whatever I plan for next year has to be planned around, well, this is kind of how long it takes me to do a book. I'll be lucky if I can get 3 issues out next year. It's like at the rate I'm going. Although, although that's just kind of like a reality of it. Oh, we lost Nita, but that's okay. That's fine. She'll be back. Let's see. It's like, let's see. Let's see. Rob says the manga craze in bookstores like Barnes and Noble is one of the main reasons for signing with SourcePoint. Oh yeah, Jose told me that you signed up with SourcePoint to distribute my Nightwolf and Snowpaw trades. Oh, very excited for you, Rob. Jose had mentioned that the other day, and I guess since you're mentioning it now in public, that's going to be a very interesting. Okay. So Nita had the run, so I guess it's going to be us for the rest of the show, but that's fine. Again, reality gets in the way, but we have to pivot right where we can. But yeah, it's like that's going to be really fun. So are you changing the way your trades are presented? Like, are you doing like manga size trades? Which, to tell you the truth, if you do that, I will buy those again. I will buy those again. So another thing that that I kind of like learned from or I learned just in general, like the big lesson this year too, which was the reason why I had wanted to talk about writing, like storytelling. Not yet. Anyway, okay, not yet, but I mean, is that something that you would consider, like doing kind of like a digest / smaller size of the trades? Just to be able to kind of like hit that market, because it's like, because Nightwolf and Snowpaw kind of have, well, Nightwolf in particular kind of has that pseudo manga style, I guess, depending on the artists that are working on the book. So it's like, I kind of wonder if it's like, it's like, if you like, would that allow you, like, you think that would like give you access to another type of audience just by doing that size? But I guess once I get credit cards paid off and there was extra funds, yeah, well, that's also the thing too. So the big thing also, the piece of advice that I gave, but because the guys had gotten into this whole thing about 401ks and you got to really, like, insurance, and you got to make sure that your financial background is taken care of so that you can do your artwork properly, like, you can do your comics, because the one thing that really stuck in my head this year is that it's all for nothing if your story is not finished. And that was like a really, really big thing. It's like another thing that I really had no patience for this year is people who say that, oh, my comic book is 128 issues. My comic book is 50 issues, when they can barely do an issue a month. I mean, an issue a year. It's like, you're running Kickstarters. It's like you're putting out an issue a year, and you're telling me that your epic is 128 issues. It's like, really, it's like I really do think, like, I have this thing, I'm pretty sure I mentioned on a previous show, that the reason why you have a lot of people who disappear in comics is because their stories were never strong enough to begin with to sustain them. It's like, we have, they either come in two flavors. You either have the creator who keeps redoing their issue 1 because, oh, my artwork got better and the story changed. So they're constantly redoing their issue 1s. They're instead of like, so they'll have 8 versions of issue 1 as opposed to having issue 8. Or you have the other person who they just disappear. That maybe you'll get a 3rd issue out of them, and then all of a sudden you never see them again. And it's like, and in the end, it all boils down to the story was such weak sauce that it couldn't sustain the meal. Like what if your meal is your story, if your series, your story has to be able to sustain it. And the difference with like indie book publishers, indie book printers, and indie comic book creators, and indie, the difference between book creators and comic creators is that a book creator has to have a completed story, even as a first draft, before they can even think about publishing. There is no publishing chapter by chapter. No, it's very rare that people do that. And when they do that in traditional publishing, it's because they have I think Stephen King did that. Where he was publishing little chapbooks of chapters. I forgot what book it was. But it's incredibly rare, and you can pretty much say that nobody really does that. It's either like all or nothing. You either have published the whole book or you don't, but the bottom line is that you need that finished first draft to start with, which is something that doesn't happen in comics. People just get, they fart out an idea on a napkin, and then they go, oh, we got to hire somebody to do an issue 1. And then what happens is that those are the people who are more likely to crash and burn by issue 3, because they realized that they didn't have a coherent story to justify what they were trying, the series that they're trying, the epic that they're trying to do, or the series that they're trying to do. So, so this person was talking about, oh, I just want to make monthly comics. And I guess like later on, it was just like, well, what do you mean by that? Like, what's the purpose of that? What are you working towards? If it's just a hobby, do whatever the fuck you want. Right. But if you're kind of making a business decision to stay home and do comics, you're already setting yourself up to be that this is not a hobby, that you're planning on this paying off somehow. And the issue is that, well, can your story sustain that? What's your story? Do you work in story arcs? Do you work in, it's like, even if your story is 128 pages, do you have a 4-issue story, 128 issues? How does it break down in story arcs? It's like, and how quickly are you putting those out? So ElfQuest, the original ElfQuest, was 20 issues. The first, I think it's officially called the first quest. Those first 4 volumes. So those 4 volumes made up of 20 issues that took Wendy and Richard Pini to publish over 6 years. So that entire story arc took them 6 years to put out. So 20 issues over 6 years. If you're telling me, so it's like, so if you're telling me that your story is 128 issues, but you're only putting out at best, 2 issues a year, you're not going to live to see the end of your story. And trust me, whatever audience you're trying to build on that, they're going to sense that way before that you're not going to finish your story, and they're going to bail way before that. You're going to have a hard time building your audience on a story that doesn't have an end. And I am just like completely convinced of that the reason why most creators flame out, is because their story cannot sustain what they're trying to do. And because they've pretty much run out of story, they don't know how to continue past that without rewriting the whole thing. So yes, if I were to give advice from the beginning, like if you were starting from the beginning, is that write a first draft before you put pencil to paper. Write a first draft of your entire story, and then break it down from there, because what you absolutely need to know is that if your story really merits being 128 issues. I mean, because also the other thing that I had wanted to talk about is that, I'm still world building Eagle Raven, even though Heir of the First Unicorn, this chapter, essentially, this story arc, is complete. But I'm always noodling with the world building that comes after, right? And and the thing is too, is that I'm also writing a novelization of this series to kind of fill in the gaps that either didn't fit in the comic or didn't really need to be in the comic. Because that's also a thing too that we kind of have to realize when it comes to our stories is, different mediums require different things. That they require different things from the story. And yeah, there's now a lot of world building behind Eagle Raven, but the comic doesn't need you to know every bit of minutia about it. You just need enough to sustain what this story arc needs. So once the story arc is done, I could just compile everything into one book or into, if you count the prequel, the 5 digests, and then that's it. That's all you need to know. Right? But you will have a complete story that goes with it. So the novelization, what that allows me to do is to add in all the in-betweens that, as a comic, like I said, doesn't really need to be there. But I think the story benefits from you knowing it if you read the novelization. You don't need to read the novelization if you just want to read the comic. But it gives me an opportunity to world build without affecting the comic. And honestly, it was kind of a thing I wish I had thought of before, while I was doing the comic, realizing earlier on that it's you could actually kind of truncate certain ideas in the comic if you're just going to put them in the novelization, so it's but I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to make that mistake and go back and redo pages or redo dialogue to make up for that. It's done. That's what it is. And we're going to move on. And, and like I said, it's I think that's what really trips up a lot of creators, so it's you can have the marketing, you can have the money to bankroll it, you can have the audience, right? But if you don't have the story that this is all based on, if your story doesn't work, the rest of it doesn't matter. And that's kind of the thing, that, like I said, kind of got lost in the conversation yesterday because, like I said, everyone was talking about very important stuff. If you're going to actually create as a job, these are all the things that your job as a creator is going to have to cover on top of the fun parts of doing the comic. Which I think also it's that's kind of what trips a lot of people up too is that they just get so focused on doing the fun stuff. Oh, even if you're paying other people to do the artwork. Oh, I'm going to be a comic book creator / publisher and look at all this artwork. But there's all the background stuff you still need to take care of. But again, it all boils down to your story. If you don't have a sustainable story for your series, it's not going to go well. You're not going to last, you know? And, yeah. So if I were, to give any advice, it would be, have that story. Have a complete story. Know what you're writing. Know what you're drawing for. Know exactly like what your book is going to be. And then number 2 would be have a realistic expectation for that project. Because I think that if people sat down with the ideas well, my book is 128 issues, right? Hold on, because I'm not doing math in my head. Hold on. So if you're doing 128 issues, but at best you can only put 4 issues a year, your potential audience is expected to hang out with you for 32 years. And this is the thing. And this is where the idea of what's classy when mainstream does it and what's trashy when indies do it. This is that. You are not a legacy IP that people can literally enjoy for generations. I hate to break that to you. You're not making a legacy IP. The average person who enjoys indie comics are not holding out for you for 32 years. You're not Batman. You're not X-Men with you're not Superman with 1,000 issues or whatever, or Spawn with 301 issues. It's you're not that. So they can get away with that, but also those stories are written in a way that people can pretty much just randomly jump on at any time, even though at the same time people complain about, oh, it's all random and shit. How do I know where to say? It's look, if you're that interested, you see, and that's the thing, because it's people are more likely to be interested enough in Batman to follow the maze of the story than they are to wait for you for 32 years for your story, to come out. And I think that if more people thought about, it's I'm doing a 128 page issue epic. And it's seriously, so it's going to take you 32 years to put out this book at its fastest. And I think that the more people are confronted by that reality, the more that it's I hope that they would realize, what are you really saying in your story? Look, I complain about 1,000-page romanticides that it's just the barest thread of a plot just stretched out over 1,000 pages when it could easily, their entire series can easily be fit in one book. It's kind of like we were watching Avatar the other day. Love the movie. I love all of those movies, right? But honestly, there was no fucking reason to have 3 of them. You can't, he could have just as easily condensed those movies down into one, or 2 at most, and tell the entire story of what he's stretching out into 4 movies, right? We were watching, what was that? Monarch. It's on Apple Plus. It's Monarch Legacy of Monsters, right? It's a television series that they made for the the legendary Godzilla series, the MonsterVerse, right? And it's a really good show. I really enjoyed it. I think that it really dovetailed nicely in between the movies. Like, I think it's like Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters, like, with Skull Island and Kong, Kong Skull Island in the middle of there. And I think it really dovetails nicely. But I think it was 10 episodes. And I go, it didn't need 10 episodes. This story did not need 10 episodes. They could have just done like 1 3-hour movie, and they could have told the story more succinctly. It didn't need to be that long. And, and I think that streaming television kind of has the same problem as comics, or comics has the same, like they think that just because you have the space for chapters doesn't mean your story merits all those chapters. So so it is kind of like, the yeah, so that would be my advice, right? If there was one thing that I really learned in 2025, right, is I have to be more realistic with how quickly I can do things, right? And and also it's like story is king. If you don't have a completed story, you don't have anything. If you don't know where your story is going, if you don't have that first draft and you cannot break it down exactly, all the marketing's not going to help you. It's not. The money, the marketing, the money, the bankroll, it's not going to help you. Because like I said, there are certain behaviors that people are willing to forgive for legacy characters, but they're not going to put up with yours. So that's, kind of, that's kind of like, my mindset, of 2025, that, so, not to get, so not to like dig, too far. It's like I say, come up with a summarized version of a story before you write it out. Well, yeah, you start with it's like I have finished volume 1 of my original story and it's online. Oh, there you go. Yeah, but the thing is though, it's like at least you know where your story ends. You know that your story ends on issue 12. Right? It's issue, so it's 12. Nightwolf is 12 issues, and I think Snowpaw's 6 issues, right? So that gives, so it's like, okay, that's an ending, right? And the way you're putting, and your books, you're almost at the end of both those series. I'm almost at the end. Like my goal for 2026. So let's talk about that, right? So my goal for 2026 is finishing Eager Raven completely, finishing Heir of the First Unicorn completely. I want the next 4. So after I'm done with issue 12, which I'm trying to finish in the next couple of weeks. Actually, it's like I thought that I was going to be able to finish it by the end of December, but by the end of January, I want to completely be done with issue 12. So, and then it's like I want to release issue 12, on Kickstarter. I want to release volume 3 of the trade paperback, and I want to release more sketchbooks in the meantime, and the thing is that while this is happening, I want to finish Eager Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn. I want to close that chapter out. I want it completely finished by the end of 2026, so that in 2027, I could just release those issues and call it done. Right? Because also what that allows me to do is that it allows me to mentally move on to editing the sequel, which is my novel, right? And also it allows me to move on with the novelization, editing the novelization. Actually, technically the novelization would come first before the sequel. Yes, done as in done, and done. Yeah, you can't get any more done, right? It's like, and then my goal is to finish the second story arc of Tall Tales, which I'm missing only 2 issues of. So to finally get that done, and done, right? And I think that that's very important, because also what I think too is that completed books are a much easier sell. I think we're in a space now where people want completed books. That's why, like, trade paperbacks, people are saying, that trade paperbacks are really going to be king. It's like everyone's kind of like, of course I'm speaking generally, everyone's getting fed up with individual issues. Only very particular people collect those. But like for the broader market, people want to see trades. They don't want to wait. They don't even want to wait a year, for you to put out your issues. It's like, just put out a trade and I'll be there. That's kind of like, and I can't argue with that, because I'm the same way. It's like, put out a trade and I'm there, because I cannot handle individual issues anymore. It's like, you got a trade coming out, then I'll get you on the trade. It's like, it's only very particular creators that I will consider buying individual issues from, but even that's rare, very, very rare. And I'm just waiting for, trades. And I think that this is what more people are doing. And especially with how manga is pretty much dictating a lot of the market. It's like, people don't want to read individual issues in the broader market. That's just what it is. That's just a reality of it. And it's like, yeah, and done, and done means that my books will be able to be an easier sell in that broader market. Right. Rob says that's another reason why I signed with a Source Point. We're gonna keep an eye on you, Rob. Definitely. Because it's like, look, I think Nightwolf really does need to be in the broader market, and I really want to see how that works out for you. The world needs more werewolves. So, but kind of like, one last thing, that I think was very important this year for me in 2025, aside from the whole fiasco with me losing my, that whole fiasco with me losing my furry collection, getting it back, and now I'm in the process of still scanning it. So far, it's like, I think I have like around 200 pieces, almost 200 pieces scanned in to kind of like finish my archive, which again will allow me to put out more sketchbooks next year, which will be good. But I think, like, if anything, I think that there are the 2 things though. If I wanted to end a 2025 video out on a good note, right, is the things that I really, really, there were 2 things that I ended up getting this year that, one, I had a really, really good time with, and the other one I'm really, really having a good time with. And the first, the thing I think that really made my year was buying a Wacom Move Inc. 11. So I was talking about before how it's like, I really hated feeling like I was tied to the office, right? And also the fact that I had to go to Florida for a couple of times. I really didn't like the idea of not being able to work. And short of buying, I didn't want to spend $2,000 on a new laptop. I really didn't. But this year, Wacom had finally put out an Android tablet And very, very quickly, I learned it was worth every penny. And I would buy this 10 times over. And this tablet allowed me to draw in places that I would never have considered drawing in, like on an airplane, at the airport, just being able to work on my pages, work in bed. I mean, it's like sometimes I do that, like I'll just take this, I'll just go up into my room and I just work in bed, and I'm just working on pages, and getting stuff done. And it's like, what it taught me two things: that I actually don't need a larger screen. I always thought I needed a larger screen if something were to happen to my Cintiq. And also it's like, yeah, it's the perfect size. It's the size of a sketchbook, and just the fact that I was able to do the amount of pages that I have done so far, and not have to be tied to my office, to be able to get out of this chair, to be in more comfortable situations. I think that this was the best purchase of the year. It's about $600, but it's worth it. It really is worth it. If you really want, I run Clip Studio on it. I mean, it just required me to add $20 more to my account to get the second license for Clip Studio to run on this. But even if you don't have Clip Studio, the Wacom ink has a special promotion where it allows you to have Clip Studio. I think it's like a pared down version of Clip Studio for free for 2 years, just by registering the Wacom, the tablet. So you don't even need to buy Clip Studio. I just prefer to have Clip Studio, the full version, but in and of itself, this is made for Clip Studio. So you can get Clip Studio for free if you want to buy it. So honestly, it's worth the $600, I think, because this was the game changer of this year. This was the game changer. The other thing that I got this year, right, that I really, really had fun with, was that I got caught up in the Labubu craze this year. This Coca-Cola one was the first one that Jose got me, right? And then I ended up getting like 3 more after, But, I had a lot of fun collecting these 4, collecting these 4 things. Like I said, the only reason I had an interest in these was because they remind me of Maurice Sendak. They look like a Wild thing. So in the end, it's like that was really like the thing that I enjoyed the most about them design-wise. Considering that this was also the year that Super Plastic had closed down their toy division, although they're reopening it back up. I guess they're figuring they've waited out the tariffs long enough that they're coming back, I guess, in like a year or so with their toy division. So this kind of like gave me a little bit of the hit that I was missing with with Super Plastic closing. But like I said, I just got 4 of them. I had my little adventures with them. This one I even got to customize, which I thought was like pretty fun to do. And it's like, yeah, and I just like, this is what I just enjoyed this year. So I enjoyed my Labubu fascination this year. I enjoyed it. I definitely recommend the Wacom ink. That's if you're looking for a way to kind of like make your digital artwork more portable, and not have to like have a laptop and a separate screen and have kind of like have a complicated setup. Highly recommend that. So that's like, if I had a recommendation for this year, is the Wacom 11 ink. And also it's like, I just found out too that it had actually released in July, and I had bought it in September. And yeah, and it's like, honestly, it's like I have not had a problem with it at all. Because you know how it's like, you buy new technology and it's a little glitchy in the beginning. It's like, had not had a problem with it, you know. So that's kind of like, you know, so that kind of like rounds a really rough roundup of my year, what I learned. And like I said, what I'm bringing into 2026 is a more realistic assessment as to how much work I can get done. A less dependence on marketing. You know, I'm, like I said, I'm still curious about it, but I'm not going to put like, oh my God, if you don't do this right, you're not going to be successful. Don't worry about it. You're not going to be successful anyway. You know, not in the way, you know, a lot of these guys are imagining. It's like, look, hate to break it to you, but you know what? It just means you're free to do whatever you want, you know? So I'm not worrying about that. Another thing that I'm not bringing into 2026 is a heavy dependence on social media. I've really stepped back in how much I post on social media and how much I use social media. I've pretty much narrowed myself down to YouTube and my mailing list. So it's like, I just feel that it's just more important to cultivate the people that are following me already. And you know, and just see what goes from there. Because like I said, it's like, after 11 issues, I think this is where, you know, unless something drastic were to happen, this is pretty much where I'm going to be. So I might as well just cultivate. Yeah, it's like, relax. It's just not going to be 128 issues. Exactly. And my goal for 2026 is just to finish as much as I can, you know, and that's it. You know, it's like, shit's gonna come out when shit comes out, you know, and it's like, and it's like, I'm not gonna pretend anymore that, oh, it's like, this is, oh, I'm girl bossing and shit like that. No. I never was doing that. I never liked doing that. I think that I just got caught up in an environment, in a very delusional environment, and I refuse to participate in that anymore. So that's staying behind in 2025. So that's staying in 2025. So yeah, so I think it's going to be, so 2026 is going to be about, the theme for that is completion. You know, that's going to be the theme, completion. And more experimentation with formats. My goal for 26 is to do more on my channel. I mean, I would like to put that as a goal for myself, because I did, you know, I do kind of miss doing the studio vlogs, but again, it's kind of like, something has to give. And I don't think I'm that interested in YouTube like that. For me to actually dedicate time to it, you know, that I would rather that time go into finishing my books. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. And the thing is, that's also the reason why I do the streams. I think the streams are a very easy way for me to kind of like, you know, make videos on for YouTube, telling my story essentially, and then, and then going from there, as opposed to making like a dedicated, edited video. But so that's kind of it. I mean, there's still a lot that happened in 2025, but I don't want to like keep going, and in the end eventually boring everybody with my rundown and assessments and stuff. It's like, look, you guys all know what you need to do. In fact, it's like if you're watching this on the replay, tell me in the comments. It's like, so what are you leaving behind in 2026? What are you bringing? What's the energy you're bringing into 2026? Because really, so the goal for me is to stay offline more and to finish my books, and I think that's a good goal. I think that's a good goal for me, a realistic goal for me. So, yes. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me in the chat. HR, Lou, Rob, everybody who joined us, Joseph, thank you. Farstar, thank you so much for joining me today and keeping me company. And thank you so much to the beautiful eyeball people watching from regions beyond. Thank you so much for having me in the background, listening while you're listening to me yammering, while you're getting your work done, and probably contemplating what you're bringing in to 2026. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You could be listening to anybody, even Spotify. You could just be listening to some random Drake song on Spotify, but instead you're listening to me. And I really, really do appreciate that. And I'm happy that I could offer you something, something in return for your attention. So thank you so much for that. So if you want to learn more about me and my artwork and everything else that's going on, you can head on over to my main portfolio site at egoworks.com, EGOWORKS, where you can read Ego Raven, Heir of the First Unicorn for free. And remember that Ego Raven issue 12 is on pre-launch on Kickstarter right now. The link is in the chat and in the show notes. Like I said, I'm still currently working on it. But if you sign up for the notify me, if you click the notify me button, you will get an email the second the campaign goes live. But if you prefer your fantasy to be more of a furry Lord of the Rings adventure, you can head on over to Tall Tales, that's TAILS, online.com, and read the archive there. That's talltalesonline.com. It has an archive of over 1,000+ pages, so that'll keep you busy for a while until the Ego Raven campaign goes live. And also, don't forget to sign up for my newsletter. Like I said, I've been focusing a lot more attention on my mailing list. So if you really want to stay ahead as to what I'm up to, just sign up for my newsletter where you can keep up to date with all of my new art, sketchbooks, comics, Kickstarters, all that fun stuff. And also get a free PDF comics bundle just for joining. So that way you can enjoy Ego Raven for free. You can enjoy Tall Tales for free, and you can enjoy the Oswald Chronicles also for free. You get to try that out as well. So just scan the code and sign up now, or you can head on over to my website at egoworks.com and talltalesonline.com, and you can sign up there. So thank you so much again for joining me. Thank you so much, Renita, for lasting as long as she did. But again, real life, and we have to pivot when we have to, right? So thank you so much again. And in the words of the ancients, eat your food, moisturize, mind your business, and do the work. Because when you actually do the work, you never have to fake any of your accomplishments. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you next time.
Well, then get your shit together. Get it all together and put it in a backpack. All your shit, so it's together. And if you gotta take it somewhere, take it somewhere, you know? Take it to the shit store and sell it. Or put it in a shit museum. I don't care what you do. You just gotta get it together. Get your shit together.